Solfege and how to use it. First, some terms. Pitch refers to the highness or lowness of a sound. Higher pitch, lower pitch. An interval is the distance between two pitches. This is a small interval, they're right next to each other. This is a large interval, far apart. Half step. A half step is the smallest interval in modern Western notation. So if you think of two adjacent notes on a piano with nothing in between, as you can see marked in blue on there. Da, 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 that's a half step. Da, 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 that's a half step. Or a whole step, where there's one in between, which is a whole step is two half steps. Da, 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 that's a whole step. Da, 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 that's a whole step. Solfege is a music education method used to teach oral skills, pitch, and sight reading in Western music. Not invented by Julie Andrews, despite popular belief. Solfege was in fact invented by a Benedictine monk, Guido of Arezzo, in the 11th century, who alleged that this system reduced the amount of time required for monks to master chant from 10 years down to 2 years. And there's the happy man himself. So solfege attaches 7 syllables to a set of 7 pitches. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Within this set or major scale, there's a pattern of whole steps and half steps that is always the same. So listen as I sing for the whole steps marked with a orange W and the half steps marked with a blue H. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. This puts whole steps everywhere except in 2 places, between mi, fa, mi, and ti, do, ti. Visualized another way. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. One final note, no pun intended, before learning to apply this to chant. In Gregorian chant, do can be placed on any pitch. High, low, middle. You choose the best starting point for your voice. Solfege is not about fixed pitch. It's about intervallic relationships or distances between pitches. So I can sing do, mi, so, la, so, fa, mi, re, do, do. Or I can start here, do, mi, so, la, so, fa, mi, re, do, do. Or I can start here, do, mi, so, la, so, and so on. Moving on. Basics of reading chant notation. So first of all, you may see any of these terms that describe this type of notation. Chant notation, Gregorian notation, Gregorian chant notation, square notes, neumes. The order of pitches in chant notation. So like in modern notation, we read left to right. And when notes go up, the pitch goes up. When notes go down, the pitch goes down. This, also applies when notes are connected and or sung on a single syllable. So this is da, 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 da. Left to right, always. When 2 notes are stacked, indicating 2 or more pitches on one syllable, there are 2 rules to remember. Rule number 1, bigger first, smaller second. 1, 2, 1, 2. Bigger first, smaller second. Sounds like this. Sounds like this. If the stack notes are the same size, however, you sing the lower note first and the higher note second. Sounds like this. sounds like this. So this example now combines both rules. Sounds like this, sounds like this, sounds like this, sounds like this. Applying solfege to singing chant. So chant comes with an easy way to find do. This symbol here, with a little bracket looking thing, is called a do clef. It tells us which line do is on. So do can be placed on the fourth or top line. Mi, re, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, ti, la. The third line, sol, fa, mi, re, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Or the second line, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi. That's getting low for me. So once again, we have the do clef, which tells us which line do is on. It can be on the fourth line, third line, or the second line. This symbol, however, is called the fa clef. It tells us where fa is. So this is an example of fa being on the third line. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, ti, la, sol, fa. And an example where fa is on the second line. Mi, re, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, ti, la. So once you know where do is, you know where your half steps are between mi and fa and ti and do, and where your whole steps are, all the rest of the intervals. So to learn a new chant, the trick is to first learn the melody on solfege. So question, what if the chant doesn't start on do? Answer, first, find do. Then walk up or down to find the starting note of the chant. Always lock in the scale with your ear before you begin. So this is our do. So I might go do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi. So by doing that, I just learned that we start on mi, re, do, mi, do, mi, do, re, mi, fa, sol, mi, do, mi, sol, la, sol, fa, sol, mi, do, mi, sol, la, fa, sol, and so on and so forth. So now you add in the solfege. Mi, do, mi, sol, la, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, mi, sol, fa, re, mi, fa, mi, re, do, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, mi. Then once you've mastered the melody through repetition and practice, you can transition to the text. Creator of the stars of night, and so on. Here's another example. That tells us where fa is. Fa, fa, sol, la, sol, fa, mi, fa, re, do, fa, fa. Fa, sol, la, sol, fa, mi, fa, re, do, fa, re. O God, whose hand has spread the sky and all its shining hosts on high, and painting it with fiery light, made it so beauteous and so bright. So again, the idea is to learn the melody by figuring out the solfege first. Here's some examples from a psalm tone. Excuse me. So we've got here, we find our do, ti, la, sol. We walk down to find our starting note. Sol, la, ti, do, sol, la, do, re. Okay, do, ti, la, do, ti, do, la, sol. And then begin. Sol, la, do, re. do, 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 ti, do, la, sol. Or another one. Starts the same. Sol, la, do, 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 re. Ends a little bit different. Do, ti, la, la. Back up to do, la, do, re, do. Sol, la, do, 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 re. Do, 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 la, do, re, do. And then one more. Sol, la, do, 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 re. Do, 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 ti, do, la. So, what are we going to do there? Let's figure it out. Do, ti, la, sol, la. Do, ti, la, sol, fa. Do, ti, la, sol, la, sol, fa. Sol, la, sol, fa. Okay, that's our ending. So, sol, la, do, 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 re. Do, 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 ti, do, la, sol, la, sol, fa. Here's some examples from Psalm Tone 4. We find do, do, ti, la. Okay, la's are starting la, sol, la, 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 sol, la, ti. La, sol, la, ti, la, so, fa, mi, mi. Slightly different from the next one. It starts the same. La, sol, la, sol, la, ti. La, sol, la. But instead of going sol, la, ti, goes sol, la, do, ti, la, so, mi. I'm doing this much faster than a beginner would need to do this. They would need to go this, take it a little bit more methodically and a little bit more slowly. But just in the interest of time, I'm kind of breezing through these. Last one here. La, sol, la, sol, la, ti. La. Okay, we have here so, so, la, ti, so, ti, so, ti, la. La, so, so, ti, la. So question, do I really need to know the solfege / intervals to sing it correctly? Answer, if you have a leader who knows what they're doing, then no, I suppose not. If you were trying to figure it out yourself, then yes, you do need to know it. These three, for example, all look the same, but sound different. Mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, fa, sol, la. So again, that's sounds like this, sounds like this, sounds like this, even though they look similar. So the best way to start training your ear to hear solfege correctly is to sing melodic patterns on solfege. You can do this without notation. Do, re, do, re, do, re, mi, re, mi, re, mi, fa, mi, fa, mi, fa, so, fa. Or even better, with notation. Do, re, do, re, do, re, mi, re, mi, re. Mi, fa, mi, so, fa, and so on. So the final page of this handout has some resources for singing solfege patterns that I will share with you at the end. Forward, rhythm in chant notation. So far, we've focused on how to find the correct pitches, high or low, when singing chant, exactly how high or low the sound is. Now let's pivot to rhythm, how long or short the sound is. So first of all, a critical point. Chant is free rhythm. Free rhythm means that although there are still time values, that is, some notes longer or shorter than others, it is not metered in the same way that most music is all over the world. You can't tap your foot to it. You can't sing along with a metronome. There's no groove, and it does not keep a beat. Free rhythm is, by nature, fluid and flexible. It is not mathematically precise. Lots more on this when we get to phrasing and cadence. So a single square note is the primary unit of time, called a punctum. There is no symbol to shorten the duration of a punctum. There are a few symbols, however, that lengthen a punctum. Number one being the dot, the horizontal line. The squiggly thing, technical term, 2 or 3 square notes in a row. Those are 4 different ways you can lengthen a punctum. The 4 that we'll be discussing today, at least. The dot means you double the length of a note. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So the dot means you double the length of the note. The horizontal line means that that note should be sung, or notes should be sung expressively, which includes lengthening it or them. Da, 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 da. Sing the notes expressively, which includes lengthening that note or the notes. Number 3, the squiggly thing, called a quillissimo if you're curious. The squiggly means that you express, but squiggly is more fun to say. The squiggly thing means you expressively lengthen the note before that squiggly. So you expressively lengthen the red note, the one before that marking. Da, 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 or da, da, da. And lastly, 2 notes in a row means you hold a single pitch for double the length. Same as a dot. 1, 2, hold twice as long. And 3 notes in a row, you guessed it, means you hold a single pitch for triple the length. 1, 2, 3, you hold it thrice as long. Here are some symbols that look different than an ordinary punctum, but actually hold the same time value. That is, they last for the same amount of time as an ordinary punctum. I'll go ahead and let you look at those for a second. I do want to say one thing about the third one here, that slidey looking little guy. When you see this symbol, do not slide your voice between pitches. Please, we would all be grateful. So you sing this really like this. Or visualized another way, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, without sliding the voice. Moving on. Some of you are trying to speed read the gray boxes, I know. Don't worry, I'll give this to you and you can go back and look at them. Chant rhythm in summary. Free rhythm is by nature fluid and flexible. And the following symbols lengthen a punctum. The dot, the horizontal line, the squiggly thing, lengthens the note before it, and then 2 or 3 consecutive square notes.